Hi everybody, Gianni here with you for TheoTRADE, and today is Tuesday, the 16th of September, 2025. We are seeing fresh all-time highs in the S&P and the Nasdaq 100 futures. We did just roll over to the December contract from the September contract. And there's a lot of events taking place when it comes to leveraged markets. We had the contract roll. You also have triple witching taking place in the options market later this week. But that is all just a piece of the puzzle that we are dealing with in this environment because we also have the Fed rate cut coming on Wednesday tomorrow. And, looking for a quarter of a percent or a 25 basis point cut. I'm going to talk about what you need to do to prepare yourself in just a moment. But, as a rule, new all-time highs are bullish. This is not the most bullish all-time high registration I've ever seen. Coming into this week, we did see technology, XLK as the best performing sector within the S&P 500. That is a very good sign. We want to see technology breaking out and leading the rally higher. Semiconductors were also very strong recently over the last few days, being buoyed by names like Broadcom and like Micron. It also begs the question about how Nvidia can continue to outperform, considering so much of its business is changing over in the landscape of China. So I'm going to talk about that as well because I'm very bullish on China, and I think that some of the best tech opportunities are coming from across the Pacific right now. But in talking about Micron, this is actually a name that we have been trading over in the TheoTRADE chat room. We got long a couple weeks ago, rode this wave higher. It's looking very strong, and as long as we keep seeing tech names breaking out and setting up like this, it's going to keep the market afloat at the index level. But the big mover this week within the Magnificent Seven is Tesla. Tesla is a name that I've been very bullish on for quite some time. In fact, I own it in every portfolio that I'm trading. Million Dollar Challenge, Trinity Trade, live chat room at Theo, you name it. But this was a bit of a special setup because what I did last week as part of the Trinity trade was I issued our first Super Lotto trade alert, and that's an options trade. So yes, we are trading options now over in the Trinity trade, and it was just a very simple call option. We were looking for a rally up to 425. We were in the trade for 3 days, came away with a 154% return in just that short period of time. And yeah, we hit our upside target at 425. The high yesterday was 425.7. We closed that position, and we're still riding this wave higher with our stock position. We actually backed up what I like to call the Cybertruck in Tesla. It's a very overweight position that we have, but we were basically looking for a rotation into Tesla within the Magnificent Seven because you go across, you look at names like we just looked at Nvidia, Microsoft, Meta. These are all names that have recently hit new all-time highs. Now, Amazon hasn't hit a new all-time high since the start of this year, but it's within spitting distance of doing so. And so when it came to Tesla, I was basically looking for a rotation. After all, rotation is what keeps bull markets alive. And then I'm also looking at Apple here. This is another name that we are long in the Theo chat room because similar idea. This is arguably the most important stock in the market behind Nvidia. And so if you think Apple's going to roll over, it's probably going to take the whole market with it. But like I was saying earlier, I do see more opportunities. I do think there are more possibilities for big moves coming from China. DeepSeek really changed the world back in January. It was China announcing itself and making it very well known that, hey, we are big players in the AI space. So if you're bullish on tech like I am, but you've seen the Magnificent Seven names run higher and you've seen, all these tech stocks break out, well, I would consider taking a look at stuff like CQQQ. And if you zoom out and take a look at the monthly chart, you will see and understand why. We are just starting a bull market over in China. And so when it comes to the Fed's rate cuts this week, it's going to help the Chinese market even more. Why? Because it makes US assets less competitive. We're not paying as much yield. We're not paying as much interest when we cut rates. There is a greater incentive to go abroad and look for more opportunities. And so you're seeing this play out in names like Baidu. which, by the way, is another Trinity trade name. It is a lotto trade name. And we're up today over 8.5 or around 8.5%. It is exploding higher. We got into this stock back on the 26th of August, right before the big breakout. But you could take a look at names like Alibaba, which is also a Trinity trade name, and even names like Trip.com, which are surging higher today, trying to close at its highest level, I think actually in history, that's shaping up to be. Yeah, highest daily close in history. It's trying to shape up here. So plenty and plenty of Chinese names related to the internet, related to technology, only just now starting their bull market. So the possibilities are really endless in this market environment if you're willing to look for them. Now let's talk about preparing for the Fed meeting tomorrow. The Fed's going to cut interest rates 0.25%. I'm not looking for them to cut any more, but it does look like we're going to get 0.25% or 25 basis point rate cuts going into year end at the least. And so we're seeing bonds hanging out near the highs of the day, which is bullish. And when it comes to the yield curve. And again, the yield curve all comes down to understanding there are interest rates for different time frames in the bond market, meaning there's an interest rate for 30 days, there's an interest rate for 2 years, for 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, etc. They're all different. In a healthy bond market, you see higher interest rates the farther out in time you go. The Federal Reserve is watching this very closely as they get ready to cut interest rates here tomorrow. And so when I look at targets for the 30-year Treasury bond, I'm not ruling out a drop down to the 3.5, 3.75 area, meaning that I could see interest rates falling a full percentage point in the 30-year bond. And so this is important to understand because we're looking for short-term rates, which is what when the Fed is raising or lowering rates, they're only doing it on the short-term part of the market. Basically, all the bonds or the bills that mature in 1 year or less. Okay, they're setting basically the interest rate for that short duration of time. We're going to want to see that below 3.5%. So whether the Fed cuts rates until we settle at 2.5 or 3% remains to be seen. But what you do need to understand is that the Fed cutting rates is printing money again. And so if you're looking at crude oil here today, we're seeing a nice bid. But I do want to divert your attention over to DBC, which is the commodity ETF, which has a large weighting towards crude oil. And the reason why I want this to be on your radar is because the pattern that we see here on the weekly chart is almost identical to the pattern that we have seen in countless stocks, cryptocurrencies, and more coming out of the market bottom in stocks back in April. Okay, so this is a big shift. Inflation is not a factor or an issue right at this moment, but the market is starting to sniff this out. The market is getting ready for money printing. The market is getting ready for inflation to come back. And remember, we can have crude oil rallying for a few months at a time before the market wakes up to the fact that inflation is the threat again. So we're still in this Goldilocks period, like Don and I called it back at the beginning of the year. Enjoy it while it lasts. The time to prepare for inflation is now. And so, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually saw bonds pull back a little bit, perhaps after a final burst higher. I would like to see bonds maybe have like a little blow off rally here. Similar to precious metals, gold and silver, which have been very strong. Gold hit a new all-time high today. Silver hit a new 14-year high. This is really strong price action, but we are a bit extended. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if we had a tremendous dip buying opportunity in metals sometime before the end of the year. And we're going to be looking to play off that because I'll tell you what, guys, the dollar is not looking like it's going to be getting any stronger anytime soon. The euro is breaking out. The yen arguably is as well. And we could see the dollar drop another 5 to 10% in value. And that's going to be good for precious metals. It's going to be good for cryptocurrencies. I'm bullish on Bitcoin. I'm bullish on Ethereum. There are so much opportunities right now in the crypto space, not necessarily in the junk coins, but in some other cryptocurrencies that have solid market caps and solid liquidity. I'm going to be talking a lot about that in the near future. So this is what I'm looking at in this market right now. Be prepared for a buy the rumor, sell the news type of setup in precious metals and in bonds, especially. I think that stocks can continue higher if we do get a dip. Buy it without any hesitation because it is a gift. It is a gift in this market environment. we're running this economy hot, guys. The Fed's going to create a bubble. And it's not just the Fed, it's the administration in Washington as well. They want to run this economy hot. It's the only way that they can try and tackle this debt disaster that they have in DC. Okay, so I'll keep you posted on what I'm seeing. In the meantime, these are the opportunities that are there. We're going to be having a special long session here at TheoTRADE tomorrow covering all of the Fed updates and commentary. It's going to be hosted by Don, Brandon, Blake, and Garrett. So you don't want to miss that. It's going to be a great session. I know I'll be watching that as well as looking at all the positions in my portfolio. So thank you everyone so much for watching. Hope to see you in the TheoTRADE chat room.